Alright guys, Brian with VetteSource back on Friday, and we are actually now in the dog days of summer. Thanks to living in southeast Texas, the heat has definitely come on strong this week, so I'm still, right now, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we're looking at mid-90s out here, plus our heat index, because living in the jungle swamp here in southeast Texas, so it's hot. But figured what I'd do today is bring you the continuing series of our teardown here, or rebuild of the Formula 350. I would have had something out earlier, I think, but yesterday I spent the day, yesterday was my birthday, so I spent the day with the wife and kids out of the state park, the alligator park we got here, where you can go check out alligators and all that kind of cool stuff. So it's kind of fun, and amazingly enough, when I tell people you go hang out in an alligator park, they seem to be confused, but I actually took a video many years ago. I'll put a link up there at the top if you've never seen. It's an whole video I did. So if you like nature and like things like that, it's always a state park to come visit if you're in the area. But anyway, I digress. So today I'm going to focus on really getting into this area and seeing what we're going to work with here. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this bracket back out of here again so I can get into here. Namely, this being our electronic spark control bracket. We've got a mass airflow burn off relay right here, and you know, I'm gonna have to look at my wiring diagram. I'm not exactly sure what those are for. They might be cooling fan relays, that's what they look like, but I'll have to check those first and see. And the other thing we're gonna do is we actually managed to score some of the parts we needed. So luckily enough, I got very nice TPI throttle cable from these nice guys. I want to say they were out of Georgia. I think it was Camaro Parts World. Very reasonably priced on this piece right here, which is particular to the tune port cars. So throttle cable from another Camaro or Firebird of this generation won't work unless it's a tune port. So we're going to go ahead and change that burned one out that's cracked and damaged right there. We're going to swap that one out of there. We're going to pull this out, and if we've got time, I'm going to go ahead and redo that master cylinder, because I was able to get a brand new master cylinder for the car. The reservoir, the lower part of the master cylinder still looks pretty good, so I got a brand new one here we're going to pop in place. So what we'll do first, real quick, is I'm going to go ahead. Now this cable just runs basically straight back through the firewall, just making sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. Right there on the firewall, there's your area where it comes through, and I removed it first just so you could see. So it comes back out right here, and I've got a little rubber boot I'm gonna leave inside of there and let it hang. And then of course you'll see that protective cover right there against the metal. And if we compare our throttle cables, we can see that in fact, yes, this cable is the exact same length as our other cable. I think this was a 34-inch cable. So we will be ditching this one again because this got pretty heavily damaged from that smoke caused by the smog pump locking up, and we just thought it's not safe to keep on there. So we're going to put that in, take that out of there. I'm going to put this in real quick, and you will see that popping this new one in here really doesn't take that long to get it in there. If I can get my stuff out of the way here. So all we're going to be doing is following our locator tabs here. You see how that end's got that piece there, and there's a notch cut out there, and I'm going to leave that original piece on there. So all we're going to do is feed that through the firewall there, and make sure our tab is in the right place. And we're just going to insert, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And those locking tabs are pretty strong, so they keep that in place. And then that's going to tie in right there to our not fuel, but our throttle body right there, and that's where it's going to be at. So we got that done. That was pretty easy. So let's go ahead and get that bracket back out of the way real quick, so I've got some room to work with. And if you remember from a few times previous, that was just a 10mm bolt that held that bracket in place. So we're going to go ahead and get that out of the way. And also what I'm going to be doing over the next few days. I'm going to be digging around for another harness here. This is burned. The edge of this electronic spark control is burned right here. So I really don't want to put it together like that, even though you can't see it. I just don't want that burned component in there. So you can see that just popped right off. So we're going to take it that way. And taking that off, you can see the edges of the mounting tabs are broken and melted. So I really don't want that in the car, just in case that ever comes off of there. But I'm going to leave it connected for now, just so we have a reference point. Now another thing interesting I can show you here too is once this bracket's out of the way, I'll grab our camera so you can see. This is the main junction box coming out of the firewall for this third gen right here, okay? So General Motors during this time period had your main feed junction box was here, and on the other side you can see where that wiring loom goes over the box, that goes over to the passenger side fender, that goes into your main ECM feed or your computer feed. Now on the Corvettes, the cutout for it is right around here, but because of the packaging, the way these cars are built, you've got your heater core right there, so they're not going to put the electrical connectors right there. That's why they moved them over that outside. So what you got here coming out of this is, of course, like I said, on the back side of this is your fuse box is underneath here, and on the Corvette it's over on the passenger side. So you've got a fusible link coming off your main feed, your battery cable here, and what that does, it goes back through with a firewall, and then, in fact, that may be what they originally used there. I'm gonna have to check and see my wiring diagram later. And then what we did was, let me move this out of the way a little bit. And then what they did was, your main harness is right here. This is the main feed harness. It goes all the way across, all the way to the passenger side. So power comes into the fuse box, and then it gets distributed to the individual circuits coming out of here, going to the other side of the car, and of course everything else is hooked up here. You know, that's your connector to your wiper, motor, distributor, oil pressure sensor, things like that. So, and then the other side of this harness, this one here, that is your main forward lamp harness right there. So that's the one that ties in right here, and that part at least of that wiring loom is correct, right? And then of course this here, this is solely for the cruise control circuit and the vacuum hose that attaches to it. It goes straight to the brake pedal. So that's where those come into right there. So you've got cruise power, brake pedal, disconnect on the cruise. You've got the forward lamp harness here. You've got your main harness here. And then of course the relays that are necessary to run the engine and things like this are right here in this corner. And then everything feeds over to the other side and goes to that passenger side. The other thing too, you've got your two forward branches here that contain your wiring harness for your fuel injectors unit, and this one on this side. And then for some reason the Camaro takes the power wire for the starter and runs it forward through here and back along the side back to the starter again, which is kind of unusual, but that's just the way they packaged it. So again, seeing what we talked about last time, we're going to have some more cleanup work in here to do. At least we've got the throttle cable in there as a start to get that started. And then what I'll probably do before next video, we'll get this cleaned up in here a little bit. You can see I'm getting a little bit off there. And then right now what I'll do is we'll see if we can get this brake booster, master cylinder reservoir, off of here. I've never actually done one like this. I usually just replace the whole thing, but this was in pretty good shape still, so I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. So let's see if this works. Now I did this on my Lincoln Mark 7. If you've never seen those videos, I've got those up there. Bear with me a second. Grab my paper towels. And on the Lincoln Mark 7, that was an extremely difficult car to find pieces for, but it was a really neat flood damaged car that I picked up for the ridiculously low price of $35 from the flood auctions, and we've been driving it ever since. So what I'm going to do, I'm just kind of working on the table here to see if I can get this to come loose. I may not be able to. These are pretty rotten in here, I can see. And looking at this, who knows? I may decide that I need a new one anyway. So, kind of just ballparking this right now, guys. So, we'll see how this goes. It's like it wants to come out, but not quite. And I don't have to be especially careful with it, because it's not getting reused ever again. Let's see if I can make this one work with it. Almost there. Yeah, that's been in there for a while. That one does not want to come out, man. Let's see. Probably would help if I had my vise set up here, but I don't have it for the moment. Let's see if we can make this work. We're very close, and of course my camera's off where it should be. Let's see here. Hang on just a second. Just a little bit in there. Let's see what that'll do. The thing is getting hot just from sitting here in the sun. We are almost there. I'm just slipping at the last second. There it is. Okay. There's one out of there. Let's see if we can get the second one out. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, got that out, and you can see how nasty and burned that was. Not deserving to be on there. Quite a bit of corrosion buildup in there. So let's take a look at our pistons. And the truth is, I've got a little bit of corrosion buildup on the bore here, but I may be able to use this. So, in the vein of everything else that's been going on with this car, which is standard for as old as it is, I'm going to have to probably clean these up before I put the new one back on there. So I wanted to do that on camera, but it wasn't going to work out for me today. So you can see there quite a bit of debris and dirt in there, but honestly these look pretty good, pretty decent, this master cylinder housing. So I think I can do a pretty deep-seated cleanup of this one and make this work with our new unit. So that's good news at least. And even on the back side it looks pretty good. It's not too bad. So we'll work with this and definitely throw this out with the trash. And of course our new one, I don't really want to touch it yet since my hands are now dirty. We'll just go in. Right like that. And there we go. Then we got a brand new looking master cylinder. Great master cylinder. So that's pretty good news for us, because I was curious how that was gonna work out. So I'll get all that cleaned back up again and we'll get that on next time. So let's see if there's anything else we can take care of today while we're looking at this. We need to go ahead, we need to clean this back up again once we get time. We're gonna go ahead and rerun, let's see here, this wire, is it this wire? Yeah, this is our old brake switch that they spliced in already, and we scored that on our salvage yard run a week ago. And we need to go ahead, and once we clean this up, I'm going to be utilizing my ever popular, look at that, God, I can't believe they did that, my ever wonderful speed tape For my fellow guys from the aviation business, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I'll show you what that is next time we check in. Oops, sorry, my camera's getting a little wonky. I'm not supposed to be holding this by hand. And we'll clean all that extra silicone up off the firewall. That's funny. I don't know if they drilled the hole there. They had to have drilled that hole because that hole doesn't exist naturally on these. There's no hole there. So we will probably leave that grommet in place, and then I'll cover it with speed tape next time. So, there we go. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at my wiring diagrams a little bit closer, guys, to be able to tell, or go scout on the other third gens at the scrapyard and see if these earlier ones had this on here, because this doesn't look right to me, but that's an awfully clean hole there, so we'll see if it's actually supposed to be in there. So I think that's going to wrap things up today. Sorry for the shortness of the video. It's just hot, and of course I've got somewhere I got to go in a little while, so I figured I'd show you guys just a few little things about what we're doing as we continue working on this bad boy. We'll be back at it again early next week, maybe actually possibly over the weekend, so I'll check back with you guys then. So again, thanks for watching to the end, guys, and have a good weekend, everybody. Okay, talk to you then.